What is up, everybody? You're watching Straight Facts with Ritchie and Ciro. I'm Ciro, my boy.
Richie.
Let's get straight into the facts. Kick it off for us, Richie.
Alright, so starting off with the NCAA men's basketball recap going back to Tuesday because there hasn't been many games on. But it was number 20 Virginia Tech over number 2 Duke, 77-72. Kerry Blackshear Jr., 23 points, 10 rebounds. Ahmad Hill adding 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. As for Duke, RJ Barrett played well on the offensive side, 21 points along with 4 rebounds and 5 assists, but it's definitely hurting Duke not having Zion Williamson, especially on the defensive side.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we talked about this plenty of times on how the lack of defense for Duke can definitely translate to, needing Zion even more.
Mm-hmm.
Because RJ Barrett is a very solid overall player. He has some good defense, but Cam Reddish being, one of the main...
He's just a shooter.
Yeah,
we've talked about
he's a
it
great
before,
scorer.
too.
Yeah, he doesn't have that defensive aspect you need. Same with Trey Jones. I don't see a lot of defensive ability from that team without Zion. Because Zion is just, he's it. I've admitted how he's not overrated.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as overrated with Zion Williamson. I mean, he's athletic, he can shoot, he can drive, he can finish anything on offense that you want him to do, he got for you. And anything on defense, he got for you. He's got that athleticism, he's got that mentality to want to finish, and he's got the ability to steal, block, grab the boards. And
it's
that's
crazy
just
how fast he is, and he's 285
yeah,
pounds.
he's bigger than LeBron.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He's that fast and that athletic. It's amazing.
I would not expect that somebody like Zion would just be, chilling and ready to play in the NBA like him. And, of course, not having him in the past couple games is big. And you did say that he may not be playing.
He's not playing in that Miami game today, no.
So,
yeah. It's his third straight game
That's,
missed, and they have maybe 2 or 3 games left after that.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, you'd want him to get at least one in.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get in there before March Madness. But yeah, I mean, that was just a tough game, for sure.
Next one here, number 4 Kentucky over Arkansas, 70-66. Tyler Hero, the freshman, leaded the way with 29 points, knocking down 5 out of his 6 3-point attempts. Also had 4 rebounds and 3 assists.
Well, I mean, so like this was a pretty good game. And Tyler Hero, he was a great.
And this was a second half comeback too. They were down by a lot in the first half.
And one thing with Tyler Hero though that is like he uncommitted too. So like he was committed and then he's like, no, I'm just gonna go Kentucky. Like I don't know. But I think like that he's another really excellent player. Like I've watched a lot of his high school highlights.
It's probably the best game he's had all season too.
Yeah,
I mean,
but he definitely had a lot of like momentum going into this. Like just like Mac McClung, who I talked about. Like he was one of the most talked about high school players, and now just a pretty above average college game for him.
Next one here, Indiana over number 19 Wisconsin, 75-73 in double overtime. Romeo Langford, the freshman, leading the way. 22.7 rebounds, made the game-winning layup.
Yeah, I mean that's just only the start. That's just only the start of game winners that we'll be seeing.
Mm-hmm.
But that was overall another pretty solid game, and of course Wisconsin taking a tough loss.
Yeah. Next one here, heading over to Wednesday's games. Number 7 Tennessee over Ole Miss in a close one, 73-71. Grant Williams with the game-winning shot with 4 seconds left. He ended the game with 21 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 2 block shots, doing it all for his team.
Yeah, and that's just another big game in the college basketball field. I mean, that's just important. And, of course, Tennessee having a pretty solid season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a really good season.
Yeah, after that tough loss, I mean, they went all the way down from number 1 to number 7. But
a couple tough big losses. And, I mean, of course, being undefeated at one point from November.
Yep.
All the way to then. I mean, they've just been having a great season. Of course, like you said, they have dropped down, so that can always be tough.
And they're only 2-2 in their last 4 games.
Yeah,
too.
Of course. So it's just a lot of tough playing out there. That was a great game for them.
And the final college basketball game to go over here, Villanova over Marquette, over number 10 Marquette, 67-61. As Jermaine Samuels, the sophomore, led the way, 29 points and 9 rebounds. As for Marquette, Marcus Howard, the junior, had 25 points, but only shot 8 of 19 from the field and turned the ball over 7 times.
Yeah, I mean, that's just some, like, Joel Embiid stuff there. Turning over that much, barely even, like, having the ball that much either. But that was another solid game for the college basketball.
And heading over to the NBA recap now, Thursday, February 28th, the 76ers over the Thunder, 108-104. Philadelphia still without Joel Embiid due to the knee injury, but they still had Tobias Harris, who put up 32 points, knocking down 5 3-pointers. Jimmy Butler with 20 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and another triple-double from Ben Simmons.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a great game to watch because not only do you get what you want from Tobias Harris as a 70s, if you're a 76ers fan, this is just great basketball that you're watching because not only do you lose, in my opinion, their best player, you just see a lot of stepping up from your secondary big three because Tobias Harris this year is having his best season yet. Last year was exceptional, but I just find it impressive that he's still pretty much averaging 20 points on a team where he's the third, fourth option for scoring. And that just shows what Ben Simmons can do at the one and how good he's able to facilitate, not only benefiting himself, but players like Tobias Harris. I think that this team can be incredibly scary, even without Joel Embiid.
And Jimmy Butler stepped up as well, because he doesn't take as many shots, obviously, with Joel Embiid in the lineup.
Yeah.
And same with Tobias Harris.
Yeah, and now with them both, too, he definitely kind of has declined a little in scoring. But what I love about Jimmy Butler is he's able to defend even better.
Because even if he doesn't score much, he's still an impact on the defensive end. And he had 2 steals in that game as well, so he was able to help his team in many other different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Jimmy Butler, I think that one thing with him is that he's definitely had somewhat of a bad attitude this season. Of course, starting it off, and a lot of people were talking about the whole Karl Anthony Towns situation and all of that, and that definitely put down a big chip on his shoulder for himself, trying not to, let it bother him, but also kind of him just like, yeah, whatever, trade me in that situation. But I think he's really recovered from it well, and now he's on a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference that I think can become really deadly.
And also, Oklahoma City was without Paul George, who had shoulder soreness. They still had Russell Westbrook, who recorded another triple-double. Jeremy Grant had 23 points, but it still wasn't enough. And they've actually lost 3 straight.
Yeah, and with Oklahoma City Thunder, of course, they are still, I believe, the 3rd seed.
Yes.
And, of course, these are losses that you just can't afford in the Western Conference. I mean, the Eastern Conference right now, for the first 6 seed, you can't, this is like the first time in forever that you can't really lose games, just because you want to stay on top. But in the Western Conference, we know you can't lose games if you're in those top spots. So losing 2, that's obviously big for them. And, of course, Paul George being an MVP candidate, losing him against a great team like the 76ers. One of the only teams, other than the Bucks, Raptors, and the Celtics, like those teams right there in 76ers, I think those are teams that can compete with Western Conference teams. And that's it. That's it in the Eastern Conference.
The bottom half, like the 6 through 8, they have no shot against any Western Conference team.
I mean, even the Pacers, even without Oladipo, have been really impressive.
They play really well
Miles
as a team.
Turner
really
and Bogdanovich have been playing well. And, of course, Sabonis has been playing some great basketball this year. And I mean, overall, I think that this team is very impressive to me. So, just absolutely a great game is what I'm saying. And, of course, the Thunder missed out without Paul George.
Heading over to the next one, Magic over the struggling Warriors, 103-96. Aaron Gordon with 22 points, 15 rebounds, 3 assists. As for Golden State, Stephen Curry put up 33 points, but he went 12 of 33 from the field, which is the most amount of field goal attempts he's missed in a game in his career. Yeah,
I mean, this is 2 years in a row where he caps off bad losses on putting up his worst field goal percentage in the game. And, I mean, this happened like last year, too, on a tough loss. I forget who it was against, but he had an awful field, his worst yet, until that game right there. And, of course, against a young Magic team who has a lot of potential and a great defensive effort. And overall, I think that, I mean, we were just talking about it. They snuck their up way to the 9th seed now, and they're close behind Charlotte. Charlotte's been in the race with Miami for a while, and now
Miami's kind of falling off
big switch
as well.
up. Yeah, Miami's boosted down to the 10th seed, and of course that's not good for them. After a big little miracle that we'll get to, but with this game, I just think that this was overall a pretty solid game for Orlando. I mean, this is a huge victory that we just can't brush by, but of course, an even bigger loss for the Warriors.
And also, Durant was out too. The first game of the season he's missed, it was due to rest, but the Warriors have been struggling as of late. They've lost 3 out of the last 4.
Yeah.
And lost to both of those Florida teams in the Heat and the Magic.
Yeah. So, like you said, to rest, but the competition wasn't as easy as they expected as they fall to Orlando.
Next one here, Jazz over the Nuggets, 111-104. Donovan Mitchell leading the way with 24 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. Kyle Korver, 22 points as usual, shooting the 3-ball well, making 6 out of his 10 attempts from behind the 3-point line. As for Denver, Will Barton and Jamal Murray had 21 points each, but it wasn't enough.
Now, one thing that I've been talking about to a lot of people with the Nuggets is that I think that Will Barton isn't a starter. It's not that he's not a player that's a starter. He's just, his whole career, has been off the sixth man. He's been a sixth man, and it fits perfect for him. And this year, since he's had to step up, I really do like what I've been seeing from him. Because, like I said, he's not a starter. He never has been. It's not like a problem with him. He'd be a starter on many teams, but the Nuggets have utilized him to be the sixth man.
And now they have a really good bench, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Monte Morris himself is good, and I mean, I think Beasley's really stepped up big this year. And, of course, they have Isaiah Thomas with a nice veteran aspect.
And he's played well in 4 or 5 games he's played, averaging about 11 points a game.
Yeah, and Lyles, too.
Trey Lyles has played solid
who's very, very solid. And, of course, I just love having somebody who's a veteran like Millsap, but able to dominate as much as him. I would say dominate on his aspect, because what he's putting up and how he's playing when he does play, it's just very exceptional for the Nuggets. Now, this loss was obviously big, but it did kind of help out the Warriors because they did lose a big game, but the Nuggets also lost a big game.
And now the Nuggets are only half a game back, too.
Yeah, for sure. So this was just overall a huge win for the Jazz and a great game.
Heading over to Friday's games, March 1st, the Celtics finally snap a 4-game losing streak as they defeat the Wizards 107-96, and this was really a balanced effort as 7 players for the Celtics reached double figures. The leading scorer was Al Horford. He had 18 points with 6 rebounds and 3 assists. Kyrie Irving, although he did not have a good shooting night, just 6 of 15 from the field, he still put up 13 points, 6 rebounds, and a game-high 12 assists.
Now, one thing that me and you have talked about with Kyrie Irving is that this year he's definitely developed into a better passer. I mentioned that a while ago, not even a while ago, 3 years ago, he was just averaging 5 assists, and he wasn't a great passer. He didn't really facilitate through the offense. He facilitated off of himself, meaning he would kind of just, if he had the pass, he'd pass. And he just kind of had that mentality that you definitely needed to change. And this year he's averaging a career-high assists, and right there, that's big for him. And that although he wasn't able to come in with a huge scoring number, like you said, he didn't have a great field goal percentage, but getting a solid double-double is what's needed. And, of course, a big Celtics win over a team like the Wizards, who you definitely don't want to lose to. Bradley Beal did have a big game, but I think that this right here is what the Celtics need to do because they've been on an awful losing streak, and that's just something you got to snap because this is a team that can go far in the playoffs. And if they get the right pieces back, they will go far in the playoffs. But so far what we've been seeing in the last 10 games just isn't what you want as a Celtics fan, of course, because Brad Stevens runs off of one of my favorite words, momentum. That's just how he is. He always has been like that, whether it's winning or just how his players have been playing. So I think that this right here is a step in the right direction for the Celtics.
I hope so. Heading over to the next one, Bulls over the Hawks, 168-161 in quadruple overtime. Zach LaVine, what a game he had, a near triple-double. 47 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals. Did turn the ball over 8 times. Lauri Markkanen with a monster double-double, 31 points, 17 rebounds. Otto Porter, 31 points.
So,
but for Atlanta,
that's just, for
Atlanta, Trae Young putting up a career-high 49 points on a great shooting night, 17 of 33 from the field, 8 rebounds, 16 assists. Did turn the ball over 9 times.
So this is a game that I got a lot to talk about. Not only is it the highest scoring game in NBA history since the ABA merged, it is also one of the longest games that I have ever watched the whole thing. Other than that World Series game, this is the longest sports game that I've watched through the whole thing. Now I'm just going to start it off big of the pros. The pros of this game was Trae Young putting up 49 points, 16 assists, 8 rebounds, and of course shooting above 50 on the field goal, and shooting above 43 on the three-point percentage, and going 81 on the free throw. So that was just a huge game for him, 1 steal, 1 block as well. The con for Trae Young was his turnovers. Of course, 9 turnovers at the end of the game.
He was also fatigued towards the end of the game, too, especially
after
those last 2 overtimes.
Yeah, after the first overtime, I think he definitely kind of slowed it down, only scoring 4 points from the second overtime to the fourth overtime. So, of course, that was really tough for him. But one thing with Trae Young, the reason why he wasn't scoring was he was getting double-teamed. I mean, that was a smart move.
But he was finding his teammates.
Yeah,
he was finding Alex Len.
He found DeAndre Bembry a lot.
He found Vince Carter for a 3-point shot as well. So
yeah.
It wasn't like he was a non-factor. He just couldn't.
Absolutely.
He really couldn't shoot that much.
I just don't want to brush by that, though. Like, this is a rookie. 49 and 16. I mean, first rookie to go 30 and plus 15, too. I mean, or 40 and plus 15. And
Since
of course,
Michael Jordan.
And 84. And, of course, with Trae Young, he's putting up the last 20 games. He's just been playing incredible. And I think that that's his case for Rookie of the Year in these last couple games that we've seen from him, because he's putting up huge performances. The guy has gone 30 and 10, now 49 and 16. It's just, I love it. I love seeing this from a rookie and a team like the Hawks who needs this. This is the attention the Hawks need, because the Hawks were not talked about last year. With Dennis Schroeder's first season starting, averaging 18 and 5. I found that impressive. People weren't talking about it. John Collins had a great season last year, but we also weren't really talking.
They did all this without John Collins as well.
And that's one thing that's impressive, because his assists usually go to John Collins.
Yeah, with the pick and roll alley-oop play.
And this time, we saw it to Dwayne Dedmon. He was the one who was catching the alley-oop. And that was very impressive to me. I think that this is easily one of the best games for the Hawks that I've seen in recent years, just because even though we lost, we just showed that, Trae Young can do it without John Collins, his main option. And if not, I think it's safe to say John Collins is the best player on the team. But Trae Young is just he's something else. And I love seeing this from him. And he put up career high three-pointers against Houston, and now this game right here is just another achievement to his collection. Ice Trae is just, he's something else.
Heading over to the next one, though, Raptors over the Trailblazers, 119-117. Kawhi Leonard hitting the game-winning shot with 3 seconds left. He ended the night with 38 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, near triple-double for Kyle Lowry. And Marc Gasol, in his first start with Toronto, had 19 points on 9 of 13 shooting from the field with 8 rebounds and 6 assists.
Well, yeah, Kawhi Leonard gets that lucky bounce in those ugly City jerseys, but that was just a great finish to a pretty solid game. And, of course, what we talked about earlier was Damian Lillard almost capped it off.
Yeah,
and I thought that was a pretty nice little game. And overall, like you said, Gasol starting off big at the start of his starting career as a Raptor.
And it seems like it might work, too, him in the starting lineup. It's not like they're playing some, bad team from the Eastern Conference or something. They played a very good opponent in the Trailblazers. So it might actually work with him being in the starting lineup.
And this is a team that I've mentioned that's my most underrated team, the Trailblazers. I've said, don't count them out. Don't count them out. Last year they had the worst playoff performances in Portland history. Getting, was it swept?
Swept by the Pelicans.
By the Pelicans, yeah. Getting swept. Of course, Rondo played like Rondo. Drew Holiday played like Drew Holiday. And Anthony Davis played like Anthony Davis. But that was a solid team last year. And that was the start of Jusuf Nurkic's kind of like development. But now, Jusuf Nurkic is playing his best season yet. Damian Lillard is definitely not stopped. He's putting up quiet performances, and he's definitely playing just incredible. And same with C.J. McCollum. I think that he's kind of slowed down from 3 years ago.
He had a huge game last night.
But last night he played very well. So I thought that this was a big game for the Raptors and a huge win for the Eastern Conference.
Heading over to the next one here in the final game, the Bucks over the Lakers. No surprise, 131-120. But it was surprising Giannis Antetokounmpo wasn't really the star in this one. It was Eric Bledsoe, who put up 31 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. Malcolm Brogdon added 21 points on 8 of 13 shooting from the field with 4 assists. Now, as for Antetokounmpo, he had 16 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 blocked shots.
Yeah, this is a game that, kind of opened the eyes of the Bucks, because after this, Bledsoe agreed to an extension on his contract, 4 years. So I thought that was pretty big, and of course, with Bledsoe playing well, that's what you need from the Bucks, because last year, he didn't have the best performance in the playoffs. He had a great performance, I think, because he was recently acquired. But I think this year, he's going to be a huge part of his team.
Really well this
because him, Brogdon, Middleton, Lopez, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Nikola Mirotic, that lineup right there is a super
great
team.
starting five. And they have a pretty solid bench with Ersan Ilyasova, DJ Wilson.
Of course, DJ Wilson we've talked about.
Nikola Mirotic.
And George Hill. I think that's just a great team. And like you've said about DJ Wilson, we both talked about him. He's a very quiet player.
Yeah, he steps up when Giannis is on the bench.
Absolutely.
And now we head over to some NBA news, starting off with Corey Brewer signing the remainder of the season with the Kings.
And I don't
You don't really care?
It's Corey Brewer.
Yeah, I guess it's just some veteran presence.
He's had that 150-point game on the T-Wolves, that's it. Literally, that's the only thing I know about Corey Brewer. He had a great game, but that one great game was, I think, 50 points, but that's it.
Yeah, he was the most unlikely guy to put up 60 points.
Yeah,
That's amazing. Some more Kings news and some unfortunate news. Marvin Bagley III has a sprained left knee and will be reevaluated in 1 to 2 weeks.
Yeah. This is just tough because he was starting to kind of pull a Trae Young and make his case for Rookie of the Year because people were finally realizing, wait a minute, Marvin Bagley's actually putting up impressive numbers. So that's one thing with him, but I don't think he can win it. And that's one thing with Jaren Jackson, too. He can't win it either just because of the lack of games.
He's probably done for the season, too. Lonzo Ball will be reevaluated in 1 week. Unfortunately, I thought he was going to be back sooner,
Yeah.
but I guess they said he has a bone bruise on his heel.
Yeah, that's no bueno. But with Lonzo, this is just 2 years in a row where his very impressive performances have just been cut
And he had
short.
a knee injury last year.
Yeah, I mean, it was early on,
sidelined
too.
him for a lot.
It was very early on.
Mhm.
And he came back with the haircut, and he actually started playing really well. But, of course, I think that getting him back isn't going to affect the Lakers just because it's too late in the season.
No, I think for defensive purposes, like, you can say he's not that great of a scorer, and he is.
No, but he has the best vision.
defensively,
He has the best vision for
But
a young
defensively,
player.
he really changes them because their defensive rating has gotten worse and worse. They've given up more and
Yeah.
more points since he's been out.
I wouldn't make a stretch and say he's a top 5 defensive guard, but I say he will be. I say eventually he will be a top 5 defensive point guard. But just like right now, lack of games he's played, and of course just it's Lonzo Ball. He's got a lot more to develop.
Right.
Because I don't think that people putting up like their hot takes on him, it's unnecessary.
His numbers aren't everything, really.
No, and I mean he almost
he
averaged a
proves that.
triple-double last year.
Mhm.
What was it, 9, 8, and 7? I mean, like,
And he's averaging only, I think, 9 this season,
Yeah.
but, I mean, his defense has been so good.
once he gets that scoring up, if he can just average 17 points, then people will say, wait a minute, you know.
Right.
So that's just big for that.
Next one here, heading over to the Bucks. Pau Gasol was bought out by the Spurs, and he's going to sign with Milwaukee. So
Yeah.
some more veteran presence off the bench for the Bucks.
And I mean that's another huge signing for them. And of course that does stink for the Spurs because they were literally getting Gasol back, and they didn't have to deal with Bertrands or Jakob Poeltl.
I'd rather have those two guys than Gasol.
I mean, yeah, but I
because
think
Gasol's a lot older now. And
he
doesn't
is, but
play
he's
as
still a
much.
solid player. I mean, the last 4 seasons, even coming from Chicago, he put up some great numbers. I mean, especially a team like the Spurs who need that. They need that help with the front court because Aldridge isn't going to do it by himself, and he's not. He isn't. So having somebody that can help him with defensive presence and rebounding ability, and of course ability to score, because he's been able to put up over 10 in the games he's played. So of course his injury-prone ability isn't the best, but his performance helps. It seemed like the Spurs needed that, but I just think it's too late in the season to get rid of him and then adapt to Jakob Poeltl, who hasn't even been able to start that much because they put in Aldridge at the 5. So it's just something I didn't really agree with that much.
And the final bit of news here, Eric Bledsoe signing a 4-year, $70 million contract extension with Milwaukee.
Yeah, as we just mentioned earlier, I mean, I thought that was a huge thing. I mean, I really like that for them because he's happy, and the Bucks fans are happy because
That's
he's
not a
playing
crazy
great.
amount of money either compared to what these other guys are getting.
And compared to who he is, because he's a free agent, and he was, right? He was supposed to be a free agent this year, I'm pretty sure. Because I'm almost positive he was, and I mean, they wouldn't want to lose him. I mean, because they literally kind of changed the lineup for him and Giannis. They made sure that they said, okay, we need Brogdon in there, but we're not starting him over Bledsoe. So move him to the 2 because he can adapt to that. Move the 2 to the 3 in Middleton, and then the 3 to the 4.
Yeah,
and I
they've
thought
adapted
that
really
was
well to this.
Yeah, I thought that was so impressive for them. So that's just a great, I thought that was really big.
And heading over to our final topic here, the top 5 rookies of the 2018-2019 NBA season. And my number 1, I know Ciro's not going to be happy, but I still have Luka Doncic, who continues to play well this season, averaging 20.9 points per game, 7.3 rebounds, and 5.7 assists.
Okay, I mean, I'm not going to, get mad at it, because, first of all, it's your opinion. Second of all, it's the right opinion, but my opinion.
If we're talking about for the month of January and February, I think Trae Young has him beat. And it's not because Luka Doncic hasn't played well.
No,
it's just
Trae Young
has played better.
Yeah, absolutely. So my number 1 is Trae Young, of course, averaging that 18 points, and he's, I believe, at 9 assists now, or is he still at 8?
7.8, but it
went down.
It leads all rookies.
Okay, yeah. So he was at 8.2 at one point, but that's went down a little. But I just am impressed by Trae Young. He's putting up some of his best performances of his whole career in the NBA in the past 5 games, and it's just back to back to back. I love that, and just my favorite word, momentum. He just keeps going into that, and he's having some of the best rookie performances, and now he's, I think, 2 games now behind Jordan and Curry with 30 in 10 games.
Wow.
So that's just if he can pass that, that's going to be huge. And I think that Trae Young being that one is just only because he stepped up huge and he's helped this team improve, and his team kind of needs that. Now I understand one thing that I always make, and it's kind of a little pointless, but it's just the fact that the Mavs gave up their pick this year for Luka.
Right.
And Luka didn't improve the Mavs good enough for them to not need that pick. That's just my opinion. Could you agree with that? that he didn't improve them enough to not need that pick. It's not like they're a 9 seed or a 10 seed. They need that pick.
It was a good trade for both teams.
Oh yeah, absolutely was. Absolutely was. But I just think that the Hawks, they get in to bring in not only possibly a player like RJ, but they get another player in the top 10.
And they already have John Collins. Too.
Absolutely. So we'll have a good lineup for next year. We'll have Trae Young. We need to ship Bazemore. But I could put Hoyerter over Bazemore in the 2. You have maybe a player like RJ Barrett at the 3. And then you have Collins and Dedmon. That's a solid 5 for the Eastern Conference for sure.
And the Mavericks, I think, are going to be pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, bringing Kristaps in, and that will help. But I just think that they need that pick. Because that's a huge... I mean, a top 10 pick is a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
You don't know who could even be in there. Hey, a first-round pick is anything. I mean, they don't have a first round, so that's just why it's so big. They don't have that, and now Luka, I just don't think has helped them enough. Trae Young has helped the Hawks where, hey, they're not only is their record improved from last year big time, but also they're not that well, so they are going to get a top 5 pick most likely. So I think that this is just, in my opinion, Trae Young is the number 1 rookie, and my number 2 is Luka. Is Trae Young your second?
Yeah, Trae Young's my second. And then for number 3, I have Marvin Bagley III, who we already talked about. He's going to be out 1 to 2 weeks with that knee sprain, but he's still averaging 13.9 points per game, shooting 50% from the field, 7.2 rebounds, and a block a game as well. So
this is where my list gets a little tricky. So I would have Jaren Jackson in here as the 3 if he was healthy. Right. But of course, he's missing a couple weeks, and that's big on him. And of course, he's been putting up incredible numbers and really impressive numbers that really could make him the case for Rookie of the Year. But since he's missing games, unlike Luka and Trae Young, and even players like DeAndre Ayton, I can't have him in the top 5. I do put Bagley here at the 3. I mean, you could put him there, but I actually switch it and I put Ayton at the 3 because I think even though his team is not playing as well as you need it, they're the worst team in the league, and the difference in the Western Conference is it's a 12-game difference from the 15th and the 14th, and I think that for the Grizzlies, they're obviously not playing well, and they're going to get another top 5 pick, but Jackson has been playing very good, and Ayton has too. But we've talked about this. The defense as a whole as a team just hasn't been able to produce. So I have Ayton as a 3 and then Bagley as a 4.
At my 4, I have DeAndre Ayton, who's averaging a double-double this season, 16.4 points, 10.4 rebounds, leading all rookies in rebounds and double-doubles.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a solid placement for Ayton. Ayton has been having a very good rookie season. And, of course, his ability to have some big games. He's had a 22-12, I believe, one game. And that was just, it was like the start of January, I believe, he was averaging 18 and 12.
His numbers have dipped down a little bit.
Like for the month of January is what I meant. Like he definitely.
No, but I think in general, his numbers have dipped down.
For sure. But just he definitely in January had a great month, and that was kind of what opened eyes. Because every rookie, that's how it is. Every player, as a matter of fact, kind of gets that 1 month where it's like, okay, it's their season now. So who's your 5?
My 5 is the Cavaliers' Colin Sexton, who's averaging 15.1 points per game with 3 rebounds and nearly 3 assists, but his shooting numbers have not been that great, only 40% from the field, although he is shooting 39% from 3 and 84% from the free throw line.
So, I mean, I can agree with this. I can see Sexton being a top 5. He was somebody who was projected to be honest, by a lot of people at least. Top 3 rookie. Right. A lot of people were saying that he was going to be a top 3 rookie, and if not the best rookie. I never went to that extent, but he's definitely, like you said, his shooting numbers aren't the best, but I think that he's definitely kind of having a pretty good season, so for sure. So, does that wrap it up?
That wraps it up.
That wraps it up for this episode. This is Straight Facts with Ritchie and Ciro. Tune in next time.